Thank you for auditing Professor Sky's Record Review, the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's going to be reviewing the album If I Could Make It Go Quiet by Girl in Red. I have kind of a funny story about this album. So I was thinking about reviewing this. I listened to it a couple times, or at least the first couple songs. I decided I liked it okay. And I thought this might be something that my daughter will like. So what I do whenever I think that is I just have it playing on in the background while we're doing something else, hoping that it catches her attention. And she says, "Hey, what's that?" So I was listening to the first track, Serotonin, during breakfast, drinking my coffee, as always, from my Joe Cool cup. And like within 5 seconds of the song being on, my daughter goes, "Are you listening to Girl in Red?" And this was a little bit odd for me because my Thursday videos, usually, in case you don't know, I do my Saturday video, my weekend videos, usually the most high profile. Tuesday videos, like a little bit less. And then Thursday is usually kind of like a shot in the dark, something new, something that I'm not really expected to do. It's my most sort of free form video. And so I just expected Girl in Red to be just some other Norwegian or Scandinavian act that's good enough, not necessarily amazing or spellbinding, but just good enough, and maybe there's more to it if I listen to it. So when she knew exactly who it was immediately, I was a little bit surprised, and I asked her, why? And she appropriately turns bright red. I was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Nothing." I was like, well, how do you know about Girl in Red? I didn't think she was that popular. And she explained something to me. Is this true for you? Please tell me in the comments if you've heard this before. She says at her school, the way to ask a girl if she is a lesbian is to ask her, "Do you like Girl in Red?" I've obviously never heard of this. I would never be asked this question in my life, but apparently it's some kind of secret code, like friend of Dorothy or something like that, like, "Oh, if you like Girl in Red, wink, we know what that means." So we had this kind of funny conversation, and she said, "Whatever you do, don't read her comments, because all of her comments, people talk about twerking." So I went actually to her Serotonin, and I left a comment. You can see it. I do mention twerking in it, which made my daughter even more upset. But it's an interesting idea. And one thing I like to do on this channel is, study people from all countries, all races, all languages, all sexualities, all genders, everything. But the main way that I try to do it is not by actually focusing on that. You have to excuse any ambient noise. We have these trees that are being taken down. It's unfortunate. Ash borers. So I try not to focus on the things that are the defining factor, right? Like if we just take this out, take out this whole concept of her being a lesbian icon or a gay icon, much like I did with Marika Hackman, and I tried to do with Adrienne Lenker, just say, it doesn't matter to me. Let's just analyze these things as songs. What do we find? We find a very, very solid, great example of this genre, which I'm calling, and there's a lot of other people calling things similar, just emo pop. Now, I talked about Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift as being American emo pop because they're very much tied into sort of Americana themes and Americana music. This is more international emo pop. At the heart of it is a very, very confessional tone. The idea that you are essentially reading a blog, you are reading somebody's diary that just happens to be set to music. I feel like I know everything about her love life over the past couple years, even though I've never met her. And I'm only 90% sure her name is Marie. Could be Maria. Girl in Red. Speaking of in red and confessional, wait till the end of the video to hear me tell you how the song Lady in Red almost turned me into an incel when I was in middle school. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about this album. So I think what I'll do is I'll start right away with giving you an example song. The song I'm choosing is not the biggest hit off the album, but I think it's the most exemplary. That's why it's your homework. It's called Did You Come? Quite sexual title. As you will hear, I invite you to go listen to it and then come back. Kind of a pulsating song. She's often kind of pop punky in the way that she writes songs. It's not so much that there's drums and guitar at the forefront, but just sort of a kind of pop punk sensibility in the way she writes. This song is slightly synthesizers, starts with piano, has a very cool bridge, very catchy, nice overall guitar all the way throughout. I believe she plays guitar based on a couple pictures that I saw, and that seems to be most of these songs are probably written on guitar, and you can feel that when a song is written in a guitar versus written in a computer, it has a different feel. These songs all sound like they're made on guitar. Please let me know that, if that's true. Very competent production. I don't know if the production is ever transcendently wonderful on the whole album, but it's always very solid. It's always also very rich. Something happens in this song that happens in a lot of the songs, what I would call microdynamics. So, you know, like something will get quiet and then will get loud, but over the span of a couple seconds. Like in this one, it gets quiet with just piano and guitar, and then drums come in, and then it repeats, and then the choruses. All these microdynamics happening everywhere. Sorry, this is a rough video today. My papers keep falling over. I'm actually suffering from a bout of vertigo right now, so I might fall over like Lucille 2 at any time. Exciting. I've got people throwing tree stumps into trucks. This song has the best example of the pop punk aesthetic too, especially after you listen to the first chorus. It's like basically all guitar led. But the whole thing, you know, like the nice bridge with its good example of the microdynamics, everything here is in service to the words. And everything on this whole album, I think, and perhaps the reason why she reaches the level of gay icon, is the way that she's able to describe her love life in such a direct, vulnerable, and unsettling way. Did You Come is a song about infidelity. It is a great song about the jealousy that you feel, okay? In my ancient history, I have had to suffer from this quite a bit. And when you're cheated on, you ask all these questions, and then you don't want to know the answer. It's a weird back and forth of like, I don't know. It's like reading like medical tests when you think you're going to die. I don't know what it's like, but it's one of the worst feelings because you have to put yourself in the position of researcher. You are the one asking the questions. You're not discovering anything. You are doing the active act of saying, did this happen? So in this case, this crass concept of did you come is really a meaningful sentence because you can tell it is a real life sentence coming from the real life Maria girl in red. I don't know her last name, something Norwegian probably. Did you come? How many times? Tell the truth. Wait, never mind. And that's the beauty. That push and pull, that fear of discovery, of jealousy, it's just great. And so all of the sort of like, in any aspect I had when I first saw this title was thinking, okay, I get it. So she's like a gay singer, so she has to be shocking and in your face with her sexuality. It's none of that kind of stuff that might be easy to dismiss. I mean, that would be fine if it was, right? But that's not particularly interesting. This is really just a human song. Anybody who's been cheated on can hear this song and go, yep, that's exactly how it feels. To the point where there's this gross exaggeration, you know? Did you do the things you know I like? Roll your tongue, make her come 20 times. These great exaggerations, these feelings of inadequacy, of fear, of jealousy, and the anger, the adolescence of this song, right? It really is a very kind of adolescent anger song. And when you're cheated on, when you're in this position, that's sort of how you become, right? Was it more than just sex? Was there tenderness? Another good question. Right before the end, there's this cool kind of halo effect on the production saying, was I stupid enough to believe you, to believe that you had changed for me? In case you're sitting there and you're hoping that somebody will change for you. They won't. That is stupid. Nobody will change for you. Ever. Not even a little bit. Okay, for a brief period of time, but no one ever really changes because of anybody else. If you're young and you're watching this, and I can offer you any advice based on my many, many years on this planet, no one changes for you. So let me go through the rest of the album now that I've gotten this sort of example track out of the way. The first track is that track, Serotonin, which of course my daughter knew because it's co-produced by Phineas of Billie Eilish fame. Guitar kind of starts it off. We hear the title. Wait. Sorry. As if today's video wasn't going poorly enough, my pages were out of order. The production is super strong on here. It's these great songs of sadness and lust and love. I'm running low on serotonin. Chemical imbalance got me tilting things. Stabilized with medicine, but there's no depth to these feelings. What does she mean by this? Does she mean there's no depth to the sadness or there's no depth to the feeling okay with the medicine? I don't know, but I will tell you, it's probably a good point. There is very little, I don't know, there's no depth to these feelings. This is an interesting album. I think as somebody who's interested in mental health, the way that she presents mental illness and mental health is very compelling and challenging. Even naming a song Serotonin, you know, one of the happiness things that exists in your brain, SSRIs are serotonin reuptake inhibitors, you know. Kind of an interesting idea about sort of breaking down your depression into something kind of banal, like some brain chemistry, right? Because that's all depression really is. Well, it's not all that it is. Boy, I'm getting super philosophical today. There's a rap verse basically a couple times in this song, and I am really happy. This is the only time it happens on the album. I'm fine with it happening once, as Johnny Dangerously would say, once, because it's a little bit much having this kind of like pop production and then coming in with sort of like a faux rapping. But it's good. The whole song's good, very catchy. Every song on this album can get stuck in your head. It's very solid pop music with feelings, right? Just these first two songs, Serotonin and Did You Come, covers the gambit of the whole album, which is about tumultuous sexuality, tumultuous sexual relationships, and struggling with mental illness. Yes. Next track, Did You Come? Then comes Body and Mind. Cool kind of gentle synthesizer stabs before like a dirtier synthesizer comes in. The real bedroom pop heritage of this becomes clear with the kind of going back and forth left to right. The chorus gets like really epic and super, but all the way throughout this album is the best argument for her vocals. Her vocals are just awesome on this song. I don't know why they're so much better than they are on the rest of the album, but they really are. Goes low to high, the most kind of like authentic personality. She doesn't feel like she's kind of putting on a stance. It just sort of feels like she's being her. Very, very earnest lyrics, returning to the great question that the Smiths asked in their 1984 song, Still Ill. Does the body rule the mind, or does the mind rule the body? I don't know. This appears to be asking the same question and providing the same lack of answer. We even have the title of the album in here as well, If I Could Make It Go Quiet, which appears to be one of the themes, it being her mind, obviously. Horny, Sick, Love, Mess, that's one word, is the next song, and this is great. It's like the piano plods along, it builds up with kind of a funky synth line, it does a lot of stopping and starting, and the whole song is just about being on the road, being a horny, lovesick mess. And I don't know, I remember being young, I remember being, traveling, and I think that that's a very good way to put it. When you're young and you're traveling and you're in a long-distance relationship, you are a horny, lovesick mess. That's just great. It's great. It's not just about being on tour, it really is about the stage of youth that I presume she must be in. Midnight Love is kind of a downbeat song, nice having a little bit of a break. Most of the songs are sort of mid-tempo and up. This is a little bit down. Very voice-led. The vocals are really taking center stage here. Swirling sounds and low bass notes. I think I would have liked more downbeat songs on this album in general, but there's just a couple. It's a song which reminds me of a track by Phoenix called Consolation Prize. And this is another example of there is depth. Right? What was the lyric that she said? There's no depth to these feelings. There is a lot of depth in the way that she writes songs and the points that she makes. I think that it is easy to perhaps dismiss what she's writing as just being so just on the sleeve, on the nose, on the money, totally understand what she's saying. But this whole idea of like singing about being someone else's consolation prize, being sort of a booty call, being sort of like treated second best, the way she puts it, when your silver is my gold. That's great. That is great lyricism. Just, you're not going to get better than when your silver is my gold. And I think that really this heightened attention that I paid to the lyrics really shows that she has a lot more skill than I think you initially think she has. Unless you think unless you thought more accurately than I did. The next track is called You Stupid B-Word, B-I-T-C-H. More of the pop punk mode, 3 chords. It does kind of the millennial whoa at one point at the end of each line. But then what's nice is in the second verse, it's the guitar doing it. And I like this idea because it's you stupid B-word, can't you see the perfect one for you is me. Just kind of a nice love song about someone who just can't see how great you are for them. The next track is called Rue. And, you know, I just have to give up. I just have to watch Euphoria. I feel like I won't understand music. I won't understand any, like, woman between the age of, like, 18 and 30 if I don't, like, watch this show. Apparently this whole song is about the lead character from that. Musically, it's nice. It's got a lot of, like, just guitar and voice, which is cool, like, taking back the production a little bit. Next track, Apartment 402, kind of an uplifting emo pop song, and like all uplifting emo pop songs, first have to put you down in the dirt. I've been through hell, everything's terrible, but then the feeling that you're getting through it, again, kind of a downbeat song, which is nice. A very weak pre-chorus that leads to my favorite detail, my favorite lyric on the entire album. When the sunlight hits the dust, I can't get up. I have spent my entire life, partly because I'm asthmatic, and this is a sign of danger, but I've spent my entire life, like, looking at dust in the sunlight, thinking how beautiful it is. And I've never really known how to express that. I've never, in all of my artistic endeavors, never successfully done anything with that. I've never used it to illustrate anything or any feeling. I have just spent my whole life looking at dust in the sun, thinking, that's cool. And here she has, I'm not reading her script, but somehow I misread the words that I didn't even write out. This is a cursed video. At least I haven't fallen over yet. Somehow she has figured out a way to explain depression by the sunlight hitting the dust. So you're able to be placed on the floor and seeing the dust and understanding the dust might have come from her sitting there or just not being able to move. A small moment that's found all the way throughout the album. So you have all these big moments, all these big comments, all these big pieces of trees being thrown in the back of trucks. You have all these big moments, but also all these small details as well. The next song is called Period or Dot. It's just the punctuation of a period. A nice reminder of the guitar that is leading most of this album. Simple 2 chords, kind of builds up. A little bit smokier vocals here. This is cool because she's very aware of her weaknesses. She says, I could have been more honest about what I want. Now, I don't know the life of Girl in Red Marie. I don't know what it is that she's done. I don't know, I don't know the identities of her girlfriends or anything. But I do like that we have her being angry at someone for cheating on her. We have her feeling like she wants somebody and they don't want her. We have her coming to terms with her own depression. We have a thing where she's actually doing a post-mortem on a relationship and she's accepting her own problems, right? I could have been more honest about what I want. There's another piece of advice for young people in relationships. Just be clear with what you want and most of your relationship problems will go away. It's when you say you want something that you don't that you get in trouble. The next track is called I'll Call You Mine. This is sort of about the fear of a new relationship. It seems like we could sort of reorganize this entire album, this track listing, to be like falling in love, being in love, and then falling out of love. I don't know why it's all in this order. Interesting kind of clapping usage here. To be honest though, at this point I was a little bit tired of the album. This is probably the blandest song on the album, so I didn't quite love it. It was nice though because the whole thing ended with this instrumental track called It Would Feel Like This, which I assume is a kind of expression of what love could feel like. It's kind of a pretentious instrumental outro, is what I initially wrote. But then I corrected myself and said that it's a slightly dark, slightly hopeful ending. And the whole album is slightly dark and slightly hopeful. It all works quite well. Lady in Red. Here's my story about almost becoming an incel in middle school. Incels is a term that did not exist when I was feeling very lonely and that girls would never like me. The term incel did not exist, which is good. But the angriest I ever got at not being able to have girls like me was in a middle school dance. And back in the old days, middle school dances were set up so that the last song was always Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, okay? And usually the second to last song was Lady in Red. I don't even know the name of the artist who wrote Lady in Red. Lady in Red. It's a super 80s ballad. So this one dance I went to, I went to the dance. It was not great. Fubba pushed me over. He was a guy, he pushed me over, and everyone made a circle around me and laughed at me in the middle of the dance. It was a rough dance, but I was trying to be resilient. Chenery Middle School, 1988, I want to say. And so I'm sitting there, and the song Lady in Red is playing. And I see a girl, and I sort of knew her, sort of didn't. And I was getting ready to ask her to dance. And then the song ended. I was like, damn it. You know, but like this was it. Like this is me like psyching myself up. Like you're going to learn that you want to be with the sky. And then finally Stairway to Heaven comes up. and I wait about to the middle of the first verse. And she was just totally by herself. That was the thing. I had looked at her during Lady in Red. And we were sort of like looking at each other kind of like, you're alone, I'm alone. So I go up and I'm just like, hey, you want to dance? And this girl who had previously just been demure, sitting there, quiet, friendly, looks at me and just goes, with you? No! And walks away. You won't be needing this, and throws it away. So that's my story. Whenever I see the name Girl in Red, I think Lady in Red. I think about that day, 1988, after Fubba pushed me over and everyone laughed at me, and I got up the nerve to try again. And I eventually figured it out. So there's my funny story. Maybe it's not funny. I don't know. So there you go. I am looking forward next week. There's going to be a lot of new albums coming out. I'm pretty excited. I didn't fall over, so that's good. I'm going to lie down now and stop moving my head. Until next time, there's the camera.